we create new MPAs, but we have to make the demonstration that it works, it's really efficient. The evaluation helps us to manage better MPAs, and it's very useful for reporting too, in terms of concrete results obtained with result indicators. It's very useful for local governance, because with evaluation you are very transparent for decision makers, and it's very useful for managers to prioritize annual action plans and to allocate different resources very efficiently. In France, the French MP agency is developing a national system of evaluation for each categories of MPAs. And it's what we call the MPA dashboard, and the different objectives are to be able to report at local and national scales, and to help managers to develop a real adaptive management.
This workshop was on the interaction between small-scale fisheries, marine protected areas and food security, or more particularly what is the impact of marine protected areas on food security, with a special focus on the poor communities in small-scale fisheries. We discussed a lot the impact that MPAs can have on livelihood and small-scale fisheries, and the point is there are a large range of impact. Some are positive, like an improvement of the resources, an increase in the stability and resilience of the ecosystem, but there are also a number of negative impacts coming out from the fact that usually or often the access to resources is modified, the way they can operate is modified, and in many instances this has put the livelihoods under serious threat. The panelists we had in this meeting to help us run this debate were coming from the various horizons of interest in this question. For instance, we had a lot of people some people from fisheries, so with a good experience of fishery managers, but we have a lot of people from environmental NGOs, which have spent a lot of time, decades sometimes, to try to promote small-scale fisheries and in MPAs. So it was a wide range of competence, both in fisheries and in conservation. It would be wrong to always think that MPAs are positive. And it will also be wrong to think that all the time the small-scale fisheries know how to manage the resources they have. We have good and bad examples in both cases, and of course the difficulty is to find the proper process and the proper implementation system to achieve the good results we are looking for.
They are efficient if they have parts of it which conserve and parts that contribute to the well-being of people through what they have conserved.
The MPA has the role to contribute to human welfare on a general aspect, and to do that it can mix different approaches, and this approach needs to answer the social demands from the different stakeholders.
Well, a marine protected area can contribute to ensuring sustainable livelihoods for the future. We have important economies that depend upon fisheries in the region and that depend upon tourism.
Well, marine protected areas, of course, are repositories for fish life in our oceans. They are instrumental in helping to create resiliency for climate change that our planet's facing. And of course, they tend to be very spectacularly beautiful areas, and so they contribute to an overall aesthetic of the world, and to some extent they're instrumental in tourism, which is oftentimes a means for preserving these areas.
The first award goes to the Iroise Natural Marine Park.
Known for its red list of endangered species, IUCN has now launched a green list of protected areas at the 6th World Parks Congress.
Remarkably, the French Overseas Territory, Guadeloupe National Park.
23 sites were awarded this label. After the awards, it's time to work on the first site manager's workshop of the listed areas.
Marine protected areas are very different in different parts of the world, from large-scale marine areas, so let's say in Canada, or some in off the coast of Brazil, down to very small locally managed marine areas in the Pacific. So the idea of the Green List is it's a standard, and the standard is about quality. and it's the quality in the governance and the equity of that governance, how fair it is, but also in the effectiveness of the management and what the actual outcomes of that marine protected area in this case are. So we have a very simple structure that outlines the core pillars of what makes a good marine protected area, and then those are translated into the local context by developing indicators for each of those criteria, so each of those pillars. So an individual protected area can measure itself in its own context against the global standard.
For an MPA to be recognized also at the international level could be very interesting from many different kinds and many different levels. What is the role in achieving, for example, the CBD Aichi targets in terms of protected areas, in terms of biodiversity conservation and so on. But it could be also a good way to improve the capacity to work with tourism, so they will be better area also for an economic point of view.
3 French marine protected areas have been included on the list: the Cerbère-Banyuls Natural Reserve, the National Park of Guadeloupe, and the Iroise Natural Marine Park.
So what's going to change? First, we are proud of it. It's a recognition of what we are doing every day, and all the team is really proud of the label. But what's going to change probably is IUCN categories. We now will progress to take into account all the management system of a protected area, which is a real progress and a real good thing to do.
It's really about removing the paper parks from existence and having some mechanism by which we can really get commitment from protected area agencies, protected area managers, those who really are interested and benefit from the protected areas, to join us to try and raise the standard, raise the performance, and to start to recognize what is working, where it's working, how it's working, and get some more positive results from our marine protected areas.
One of the duties I've had over the last couple of years is to be the coordinating lead author of a chapter within the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the 5th Assessment Report on oceans. The ocean is changing under the pressure of CO2, really for 2 reasons. The first is that the CO2 is leading to greater warming in the upper layers of the ocean, and the second is that increasing amounts of CO2 going into the ocean are acidifying it and changing the chemistry. We're seeing organisms migrating to higher latitudes at very high rates. We're also seeing changes in the ability of organisms to grow their skeletons. And all around that are changes, things like dead zones are increasing under the pressure of climate change. But there's one really important part of this problem, and that is that local factors often make the climate change impacts worse. And so this is where marine protected areas become very important, because it's about increasing our insurance against things that we don't know, reducing the pressure on marine ecosystems, forming large-scale marine protected areas is a way of really insuring ourselves a little bit more against the future change. There's one thing that does have to happen though, while we take the pressure off marine ecosystems, is that we've got to act very urgently on decarbonising our energy systems in society. Because if we don't stabilise the climate, marine protected areas won't be able to work, and we'll have degraded oceans to a level which will be quite dangerous to humanity.
Ils se sont donné rendez-vous sur les quais du Conquet, en plein cœur du parc naturel marin d'Iroise, pour assister à la démonstration d'une bouée de monitoring acoustique au design un peu particulier. Dernière vérification avant le départ.
Une fois que vous avez branché, vous prenez votre téléphone, vous vous connectez, ça discute, c'est fini.
Pendant ce temps-là, à terre, tout est en place pour recevoir les premières mesures effectuées en mai.
Vous voyez bien ce halo de 125 Hz qui sont tout autour.
Typiquement sur les spectrogrammes, c'est l'intensité des couleurs qui reflète ce qu'est l'amplitude du son. C'est un système qui est autonome et qui va pouvoir permettre, du moment qu'il est déployé, de transmettre en temps réel toutes les informations qui sont associées à la présence de cétacés, mais aussi de bateaux, de toutes les activités qui vont tourner autour de cette bouée, de ce catamaran, et les transmettre par Internet dans le monde entier.
Nos capacités d'intervention sur le milieu marin sont relativement réduites, même souvent réduites pour des raisons de météo tout simplement. Et là, on a des outils qui vont fonctionner en permanence et qui vont nous renseigner sur ce qui se passe dans l'environnement côtier. Ça va nous permettre aussi d'analyser les pressions qui peuvent éventuellement s'exercer sur ces populations à certains endroits et d'en déduire des stratégies de gestion pour permettre de conserver les raisons pour lesquelles ces espèces de mammifères marins fréquentent notre zone.
François, Jérôme, how would you define an efficient MPA?
Obviously, an MPA to be efficient needs to be ambitious. You need technical, financial, human means in order to reach your ambition. You need also many other criterions, but equity, legitimacy of the governance is a key point, and also the existence of an assessment system. And the assessment system must tell you that the objectives are reached.
To me, the key word is ownership. The MPA needs to be understood by the local communities who live around the area. They know better than anyone what needs to be done for their resource. So they have to own the concept, and they have to be the one who write the proposal. So this goes through a participative approach where every stakeholder is involved, fishermen of course, but also local authorities, private sector, scientists, and everybody's in the room and can define the MPA proposal together. It's not something that is just decided behind closed doors by the government. It is really a public debate. Of course, it has to be with a strong link with the local culture of the country. In French Polynesia, for example, where I work, we have the rahui, which is a traditional measure to preserve natural resources, and we sometimes, when we defined MPA there, we missed this link with the rahui, which is something very important for traditional culture. I mean, fishermen are the first users of the marine space, and they have to be the one who draw the line in the map, because they will deal with the restrictions afterwards. So they have to understand from the beginning what would be their benefit, and to decide how best to manage their resource.
And about those very large parks in the pristine areas, if there's no fishermen, that happens sometimes, how could one avoid paper parks?
The issue of paper parks cannot be dealt with just 2 days after the creation of an MPA. It's a long time that you're going to know and to be able to evaluate this. Obviously, an MPA with no long-term objective, with no control, with no regulations, with no assessment, can be a paper MPA.
So one of the reasons we were very pleased to have the World Parks Congress here was to bring people from around the world together to form new alliances and new partnerships, or to reinvigorate old partnerships. You've come with not just New Caledonia, but vision for the whole Pacific and Vanuatu and other countries to join together. And Australia is very energised to be part of your vision and to see how we can work together with all those Pacific nations.
This is an important signal, Australia's decision to join this marine park. Today, we should not consider the management of parks in terms of sovereignty, but in terms of responsibility. And I think we all agree to share this responsibility.
For us, working in the Pacific, we know clearly our role from our ancestors, that we have responsibility to take care of these places. And we're not the beginning. We're in the middle of a long line of many generations. And we'll still be here tomorrow, and the next tomorrow, and the next tomorrow.
We had our leaders and our community elders, but they had the vision to bring Uhu tonight on her birthday as the ambassador of the marine protected area in the Marquesas, but more so really the ambassador of the next generation.
The world of oceans is still poorly understood. We need a lot more research on how the oceans interact with climatic events. It is often forgotten, but the role of the oceans is important in climate change since the dawn of time, especially in this period of global warming due to human activity. At the same time, the oceans are part of the solutions that we want to show concretely at the climate conference in 2015. The oceans are both impacted and also, at the same time, have implications on fish food, on biodiversity balance in general. Links between marine and terrestrial biodiversity are also very important, and hence they are part of the solution to be implemented.